I think that was probably 3.5 days of scripting.
Imagine spending over 50 hours crafting a script for just one YouTube video. Sounds insane, right? That's what Mr. Who's the Boss, one of the biggest tech YouTubers with over 17 million subscribers, does. Why bother? To get the YouTube algorithm working in your favor, you need way more than just a catchy title and an eye-catching thumbnail. You also need to keep viewers watching this video and your other videos. A compelling script is what turns those initial clicks into watch time, pushing your content up in YouTube's recommendations. But crafting a script that captivates your viewers from start to finish is not easy, and beginner YouTubers often make common mistakes that end up hurting their watch time. So in this video, I'm going to reveal a step-by-step process for how to write a YouTube script that avoids these common mistakes and optimizes for the YouTube algorithm. First up, we have what I call the head of the video. The head of the video contains a hook and the introduction of the video. The hook is the first 30 seconds of your video. This is your golden window to grab your viewers' attention. The introduction is the next 15 to 30 seconds. That's where you briefly introduce the topic or main point of your video. When you are writing your hook and the intro, you are looking at writing at around 150 words, assuming an average speaking speed of around 140 words per minute. The biggest mistakes that beginner YouTubers make when writing the head of the script is failing to grab the viewer's attention or failing to get clear about what they are giving them. Let's start with mistake number 1, grabbing your viewer's attention. As I said, the hook is your golden window to grab your viewer's attention. Statistics show that 57% of viewers drop off after 30 seconds, so there is something critical about this chunk. How do we avoid this mistake? There are several tried and tested ways to write an attention-grabbing hook. Let's take a look.
Can you explain how a sewing machine works? I mean, think about it. We've all seen them. There's that little needle that's moving up and down really fast, leaving a trail of stitches behind them. But if you think about it for a second, how are they doing it?
What does it mean to be random? Can anything really be random? What's the most random thing ever?
What Veritasium and Vsauce are doing here is using what I call the question hook. Right from the get-go of their scripts, they ask the audience an interesting question. It makes me sit up and makes me think, wow, I never thought about how a sewing machine works. In short, they've grabbed my attention. Let's take a look at another technique.
Ciao, sei la mamma?
Sì.
So you're preparing amatriciana?
Sì?
How many amatriciana have you cooked in your life?
Tante, tantissime. 100, 200, 300 persone. Quindi tanti, negli anni. Tante, tante, tante.
Next up, we have the story hook. Look at what Alex has just done in that video clip. This video is called I learned the most authentic pasta amatriciana from an Italian mama. Within the first 30 seconds of the video, he has dropped into an authentic kitchen speaking to the chef that he wants to learn from. Everything from the shots of his feet walking through the kitchen to how the camera zooms into the pan of spaghetti swirling around immerses you into the story. In other words, it has grabbed your attention by making you a part of the story. Let's take a look at another, but by no means final technique.
There's no question about the impact of sleep on our well-being. It's the essential foundation upon which our physical, mental, and emotional health are built. Yet, it's been said that parents don't get much at all.
Another common hook uses a statement at the start of the video, like what Madiavella does here with a strong statement about the importance of sleep. You might want to take the statement hook approach one step further by turning it into a statement that shocks the viewers, opened with a fact or statistic that is surprising or little known. This can immediately grab the attention of the viewer. One of the things I really like about the statement hook is that it forces you as the writer to get super clear about what you're talking about right from the first sentence. Which leads us on nicely to mistake number 2. When it comes to writing the head, beginner YouTubers might not get clear about what they're offering their viewers. There are millions of videos out there competing for their attention, so you need to give them a clear reason to keep watching your video beyond the first 30 seconds. Usually, answering this question happens straight after the hook, in the introduction, and it tells the viewer what you will deliver, and why it matters. Let's take a look at how these guys do it.
So in this video, I'm going to explain how sewing machines work, and I promise when you find out, you will find it so incredibly satisfying, and what you'll realize is that these machines are performing tiny mechanical miracles every second.
It's clear that what you're getting is an understanding of how sewing machines work, and why this matters is that you'll find it super satisfying. Here's another one.
So I tracked my sleep every single day for 1 year, before and after having a baby. I wanted to find out how bad it truly gets. What could I learn from an entire year of recording my own sleep data? Is it possible to break the stereotype, or am I doomed like most parents?
It's clear that what you're getting is Matt's personal experience after having a kid, and why it matters is that maybe you'll also one day want to be a parent and want to draw from Matt's experience. Next, let's talk about the body of your video. If you've done your hook and introduction properly, which you should be able to do after watching the previous section of this video, it should be clear that you are taking your viewer on some kind of journey or transformation. Before watching your video, they didn't know how sewing machines worked. After watching your video, they will. Before watching your video, they didn't know how badly new parents' sleep suffers. After watching your video, they will. The body of the script is where you deliver the core content of the script, getting your reader from before to after, from A to Z. One of the most common questions that new scriptwriters ask is how long should this section be? Truth be told, that's not quite the right question. The length of the body of the script can vary depending on the nature of the script. Before I explain why it's not the right question, it's worth bearing in mind that a good rule of thumb is that for shorter videos, around 10 minutes or less, sticking to roughly 3 key points is a good number to keep the content concise and engaging. Longer videos might explore more points, but you need to make sure that each point adds value and keeps the audience engaged. Okay, now let me tell you why focusing on how long this section should be isn't the right approach. Here is a picture of a retention graph. It tells you for each viewer that clicked on your video how many continued to watch by a certain point, assuming that your viewer has gotten past the first minute of the video. Keeping up engagement in this section of the video is one of the hardest things to do for beginner YouTubers. A script that is poorly written and doesn't deliberately keep the viewers engaged might see some of the following patterns. A big drop in engagement right after the hook, which suggests that the first point you make in the body of the script hasn't wowed them. A slow decline in engagement as the video goes on, which says that people are getting tired of listening to you drone on. Little spikes in the retention graph, which says that people are skipping ahead. So how do you avoid these mistakes? When you study YouTube scripts that manage to sustain watch time, they tend to use these two important storytelling techniques to keep viewers engaged. Let's look at a couple of techniques drawn from one of the most masterful storytellers on YouTube, Johnny Harris.
Think of this circle as what you're able to recall and actively think about at any given moment. You've got a few memories and pieces of information that are really close by in case you need them. Like when I asked you what your phone number is, you've got that super close, nice and bright, easy to retrieve. But when I ask you to remember the name of your favorite school teacher, you have to stretch a little bit. But you're eventually able to retrieve it, throw it into this little circle, and remember it. If I ask you to tell me when was the last time you saw a hamster, you'll scan these bright memories and you won't find it. The last time you saw a hamster is probably way out here, lurking in some dark part of your brain. It's there, but it's totally unretrievable. And what's scary is you don't even know that you can't remember it.
That's a snippet from one of my favorite videos by Johnny Harris, How to Remember Your Life. The point that Johnny is trying to make is that some things are really hard to remember, like the name of your kindergarten school teacher. An amateur scriptwriter would make the mistake of starting off with that point, telling you directly to the camera that some things are really hard to remember, and then give some examples. But presenting information in that order gives the audience permission to skip ahead. They'll understand the point within seconds and have no need to stick around for an explanation. But a skilled creator like Johnny does something different. He sets up the context with this beautiful animation representing memories, and then finally makes the point that some memories are really hard to access. This approach creates a sense of anticipation and curiosity, encouraging viewers to continue watching for the payoff. Let's look at another technique.
Just call the guy.
Just call the guy. That's verbatim what one of the franchise owners told me. He said, when things are crazy, I just tell them to just call the guy. Now we're getting to the heart of this. The guy, in this case, means one guy or woman, which is an authorized service technician from Taylor, the company who makes the machine. Remember this?
The ice cream machine. Look at what Johnny is doing here. He's referring back to something mentioned earlier in the video. This technique can create a sense of full circle narrative and is satisfying for viewers who have stuck around. By now, we've written 75% of the script. There's only one final bit to do, which is to round up the video in a grand finale, which I call the tail of the video. This is the final few minutes of your script where you wrap up what you've been talking about and get the audience to take some kind of action. What you want to do here is end with a conclusion that feels satisfying and complete. If you've told a story or presented a problem, you need to make sure it has a clear solution. Let's take a look at some examples.
There's no question about the impact of sleep on our well-being. It's the essential foundation upon which our physical, mental, and emotional health are built.
See how Matt closes the loop on the question he raised from the start of the video? Even though Matt didn't use a question hook in this video, if you put the first 30 seconds and the final 30 seconds of his video together, you can piece together the story and answer the question, which is yes, parent sleep is affected by having a baby, and affected in a pretty bad way, but it is worth it. A common mistake that new scriptwriters make is not closing the loop on the question which they started with. This is super annoying for viewers because it means that they were not delivered what they expected. You'll tell viewers they'll be getting something but not actually give it to them. So to make sure you have wrapped up the video in a rounded and complete way, ask yourself, if your viewers only watched the first and final 30 seconds of your video, would they have some idea of what you're going to say in the middle of the video? If yes, then you've managed to open a loop and close it in a satisfying way. But that's not enough. Remember at the start of this video when I said we need more than a catchy title and thumbnail to make the YouTube algorithm work in your favor? We also need to get viewers to finish watching this video and watch our other videos. This is precisely the purpose of the CTA or the call to action, to get them to engage further with your content. As scriptwriting consultant George Blackman says, there's a simple process for setting up a strong CTA. Step 1. Link back to something related to the current video they are watching. It might be a point that you've made or a concept you've introduced. Step 2. Create a gap in the viewer's knowledge by saying that although they might understand some aspects of something, there is also something else that they don't understand. Step 3. Get them to act by telling them about another video that you've made that will help them to close the gap that you have just spotted. And in the spirit of being honest with you guys, let me try this out right now and see if you can see this technique at work. So by this point of the video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to write a YouTube script that gets people to keep watching. I've shown you how to craft an intro, the main body, and an outro that increases your watch time. But to increase watch time, you need people to click in the first place. This means making sure that your title and thumbnail are optimized for clicks. So, if you are interested in how to create titles and thumbnails that are optimized for the YouTube algorithm, check out this other video here. Once you understand how to get people to click and how to get people to keep watching, as we've discussed in this video, you're stacking the odds in your favor in the competitive YouTube space.